Anna, I think we got everything we need.
Yes! Let's go have some fun! This is nice. A perfect way to end the day.
Hey everyone, welcome back to English Over Tea Listen and Speak. I'm Anna. How's it going, Dan?
And I'm Dan. We're so happy you're here with us today. If you're new, subscribe so you don't miss our daily episodes. Hey Anna, I'm doing great. Although I have to admit, I'm a little embarrassed. I had a bit of a vocabulary situation this morning at the coffee shop.
Oh no, what happened? Tell me everything.
Okay, so there's this new barista, right? And she was telling me about how she finally fixed the espresso machine after it was broken for 3 days. And I wanted to give her a compliment. I wanted to say, "You did a great job." But in my head, I remembered this idiom I heard: hit the nail on the head.
Oh, that's a good one. For our listeners, hit the nail on the head means to say or do something that is exactly right. So what did you actually say?
Well, I got my idioms mixed up. Instead of saying she hit the nail on the head, I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Wow, you really nailed your toast."
You nailed your toast. Dan, she must have been so confused.
She just stared at me. She was like, "Sir, I'm making lattes, not breakfast." I felt like toast.
And there's another one. For everyone listening, if you say you're toast, it means you are in serious trouble or you've definitely failed at something. It's a very common, very American way to say, I'm in big trouble.
Exactly. I was definitely in trouble with my own pride. But hey, it's a perfect way to start today's topic, isn't it? Today we're talking about how to raise your English level by building a better vocabulary. Because, as my coffee shop fail shows, just knowing words isn't enough. You have to know how to use them.
That is so true. You know, Dan, a lot of our A2 level listeners tell us the same thing. They study and study, they learn hundreds of words, but when it's time to speak, they feel stuck. They feel like they're just missing the right blocks to build their sentences.
That's a great way to put it. Think of vocabulary as building blocks. The more blocks you have, the more you can build. But some blocks are more beautiful or specific than others. If you only have basic blocks, your house or your English looks a bit plain.
Right. And sometimes you know a word when you see it, but you can't say it. This is a huge thing we need to talk about: active versus passive vocabulary.
Oh man, this is the George problem.
The George problem?
Yeah, there's this guy, George, a natural speaker actually, who knows the word asynchronous. He knows it means things not happening at the same time. But does he ever use it? No, he just says it's not happening at the same time. That word is in his passive vocabulary, the bank of words he recognizes but doesn't use.
Exactly. Your passive vocabulary is always going to be bigger than your active vocabulary, the words you can actually use in speech or writing. The goal for moving from A2 to a higher level is to move those words from the passive bank to the active bank.
But how do we do that without just, memorizing long, boring lists of words? Because let's be real, Anna, memorizing lists is the worst.
Ugh, tell me about it. It's actually one of the least effective ways to learn. When you just memorize a list, you're looking at words with no context. It's like having a bunch of Lego pieces, but no instruction manual. You don't know which pieces go together.
Right, like collocation. That's a fancy teacher word, but it just means words that naturally hang out together. Like you don't just decide, you make a decision. You don't just agree, you reach an agreement.
Precisely. If you learn those as one single building block, make a decision, instead of two separate words, your English starts to sound so much more natural.
So instead of a list, what should we be doing? If I'm an A2 learner and I want to get better, where do I start?
Well, first, you have to be proactive. You can't just wait for words to fall into your lap while you're watching Netflix. You have to go out and hunt them in the wild, in stories, in podcasts, and news articles.
Hunting for words. I like that. It sounds way more exciting than a textbook.
It is. And the first rule of the hunt is learn vocabulary that matches your life. Don't waste time on super rare academic words that you'll never use in a coffee shop or a meeting. Focus on what you hear regularly or what you need for work.
That makes so much sense. I remember trying to learn the names of like 20 different types of birds in English once. I forgot them all by the next day.
Exactly. It's better to learn 2 or 3 birds that actually live in your backyard than 20 that you'll never see. It's about being active instead of passive.
Okay, so we're hunting for words, we're keeping it relevant to our lives, and we're looking for chunks or phrases instead of single words. But once I find a cool new phrase, how do I make sure it doesn't just disappear from my brain 10 minutes later?
That is the million-dollar question, Dan, and the answer involves a little bit of detective work with something called context clues. But before we get into that, I think we should talk about how many times you actually need to see a word before it sticks.
Oh, I bet it's more than once.
Way more. Experts say you need to see a word or hear it about 10 times before you're truly comfortable using it.
10 times? Wow. No wonder I keep forgetting my bird words. I only saw them once in a list.
Exactly. You have to keep encountering them in different places. It's a journey, not a sprint.
A journey. Okay, I'm ready. Let's dive deeper into these strategies.
So Dan, you were shocked by that 10 times rule? It sounds like a lot, right? But the secret is to see those words in different environments. It's like meeting a new person. The first time, you just know their name. The 10th time, you know their favorite pizza topping and their dog's name.
Okay, that makes it feel less like a chore. So if I'm hunting for these words, where's the best place to find them? I used to read these really dry, boring technical manuals because I thought advanced meant difficult.
Oh, definitely not. That's a huge mistake. If you're bored, your brain basically shuts the door. You should read things you actually enjoy. For some people, that's business news or professional blogs. For others, it's short stories or even just Instagram captions from people they admire. The key is to be an active reader.
Wait, active reader? Does that mean I have to run on a treadmill while reading? Because I've tried that and, well, I almost broke my nose.
No gym required. Being an active reader means you're engaging with the text. Don't just let your eyes skip over words you don't know. Highlight them or try to guess what they mean before you reach for a dictionary. We call these context clues.
Oh, like being a detective. I love that. Give me an example.
Okay, imagine you read, "The ephemeral nature of the sunset meant it only lasted a few minutes." Even if you don't know ephemeral, you can see it's connected to only lasted a few minutes.
So ephemeral must mean temporary or short-lived.
Exactly. See, you're already a pro. And once you find a word like that, you should look for its friends, the words it usually hangs out with. This is what we call collocation. For example, instead of just learning the word success, learn the phrase a partial success.
A partial success.
Okay, so that means something wasn't a total failure, but it wasn't 100% perfect either, right?
Precisely. If you use a phrase like that in a meeting, people will think, wow, their English is really sophisticated. It sounds much more natural than just saying, it was okay-ish.
I like that. It's like a shortcut to sounding smarter. Speaking of shortcuts, I heard my neighbor say something the other day that totally confused me. He tripped on the sidewalk. He wasn't hurt, just a little scratch, but he spent the whole afternoon complaining about it to everyone who walked by. His wife finally yelled, "Stop milking it, Jerry."
Oh, Jerry, milking it is a classic American phrase. To milk it, or to milk something, means to exploit a negative situation for personal gain or just to get extra attention.
So he was making his injury seem way worse than it was so people would feel sorry for him.
Exactly. He was milking his injury. It's a great multi-word phrase to move into your active vocabulary because we use it all the time for people who exaggerate their problems.
That's so much better than just saying he is exaggerating. It has, I don't know, more flavor.
It does, but you have to be careful with the tone. Some words have a feeling to them. For example, there's a phrasal verb, doze off. It means to fall asleep, usually for a short time and by accident. You might doze off on the train or during a long movie.
So I can't say, "I'm tired, I'm going to my bedroom to doze off."
No, that would sound very strange to a native speaker. You go to bed to sleep. You doze off when you didn't mean to. That's the subtle part of vocabulary that you only learn by seeing the word used in real stories, not just in a list.
This is why I think I prefer listening sometimes to reading. When I hear you say it, or when I hear it in a podcast, I can hear the emotion. Or if I'm watching a video, I can see the person's face.
Totally. Videos are great because of the visual context. If you're watching a cooking show and the chef says, "Now chop the shallot," and you see them holding a small purple onion, well, you don't even need a dictionary. You just learned a new word instantly.
Although, there is one downside to videos. Sometimes I hear a word and I have no idea how to spell it. I tried to look up a word the other day that sounded like rough, but I thought it was spelled R-U-F-F.
Oh, the classic English spelling trap. Rough is R-O-U-G-H. It literally means something isn't smooth, like a rock, but we also use it to mean a difficult time. If you have a bad day, you can say, "Man, I had a rough week."
I definitely had a rough week when I tried to spell it with 2 F's.
Well, that's where transcripts come in. If you're watching a TED Talk or listening to a good podcast, always check if they have a transcript so you can see the skeleton of the word, the spelling, while you listen to its soul, the pronunciation.
The soul of the word. Anna, you're getting poetic on me, but it makes sense. It's all about connecting the sound, the sight, and the situation.
It really is. And once you've done that detective work with reading and listening, you have to do the most important thing. You have to produce something. You have to move that input into output.
Output? You mean I actually have to talk to people?
That's exactly what I mean. But don't worry, there are ways to do it that aren't scary. We'll talk about how to turn your notebook into a secret weapon for speaking in just a second.
Okay, Anna, you mentioned the secret weapon, and I have to be honest, I'm a little nervous. My output usually feels like a broken computer trying to start up. I have all these words in my head, but they just won't come out my mouth.
That's the most common feeling in the world, Dan. It's that gap between what you know and what you can say. To bridge that gap, you need a personal dictionary. And no, I don't mean a big, heavy book from a library.
So, like a notebook or an app?
Both. Writing words down by hand is actually a power tool for your brain. When you write a word, you're much more likely to remember it than if you just look at it on a screen. But here is the pro tip. Don't just write the word success. Write the whole phrase, a partial success.
Oh, I see. So I'm writing down the chunk so I know how to use it in a real sentence later.
Exactly. And you should organize it. Don't just have a messy list of random words. Create themed lists. Have a page for business words, a page for idioms, and maybe a page for ways to give opinions. This makes it so much easier to review.
That sounds way more organized than my current system, which is writing words on the back of old grocery receipts.
Yeah, maybe skip the receipts. But Dan, once you have those words in your notebook, you have to move them into your active bank. A great way to do this is to take a new word and write 3 to 5 of your own sentences with it. Make it about your life.
So if I learn the phrase on the table, which means something is available for discussion or negotiation, I could write, should we get pizza for dinner? I mean, it's still on the table.
Perfect. That is a great use of that phrase. On the table is very common in American business too, like the new project is finally on the table for the board to see.
I like that. But what if I'm alone? I can't exactly walk around my apartment talking to my cat about business negotiations. Well, I mean, I could, but he's a very tough negotiator.
Actually, you can talk to yourself. One of the best strategies is to explain a new word as if you were the teacher. If you can explain it clearly to an imaginary student or your cat, it means you've truly mastered it.
Okay, Mittens, today we are learning about playing it by ear.
Exactly. And for our listeners, to play it by ear means to decide what to do as things happen instead of having a fixed plan. It's a multi-word phrase we use all the time when we're being flexible. Like, we don't have a dinner reservation, let's just play it by ear.
I love that one. I use it all the time because I'm terrible at making plans. But hey, let's talk about synonyms. You know, I noticed I say the word good about, 5,000 times a day. Good coffee, good movie, good weather. It's getting a little boring, you know?
It is a very overused word. To raise your level to B1 or B2, you need to spice it up with synonyms. Instead of a good movie, maybe it was a superb movie or an absolutely captivating movie.
Superb. That sounds, very fancy. Can I really use that at a coffee shop? This latte is superb, Martha.
Well, context matters. If you say a latte is superb, you might sound a bit like a food critic. For a latte, maybe say it's great or delicious. Save superb for something truly impressive, like a superb performance or a superb dancer.
That makes sense. What about bad? I say that a lot too. The weather's bad, the traffic is bad.
Oh, there's so many better options. If the weather is really bad, call it awful or terrible. If you had a really bad day, you can say it was a rough day.
A rough day. I've definitely had those, especially when I can't seem to catch a break.
Oh, catch a break. That's a great one. It means to finally have some good luck or a special opportunity after a lot of problems. Like, I've been looking for a job for months. I hope I finally catch a break.
I'm definitely going to write that one in my new notebook. But wait, I have a question about technology. Everyone tells me to use apps. Do they actually work, or are they just, games?
They can be both. Technology is a fantastic support tool if you use it in the right way. Apps like Quizlet or Anki are great because they use spaced repetition.
Space repetition. Is that like repeating a word while I'm in space?
No, it means the app shows you a new word many times at first, and then as you learn it better, it shows it to you less often. It's a scientific way to move words into your long-term memory.
So the app knows which words are hard for me.
Exactly. It targets your weaknesses. But the caveat, and that's a fancy word for a warning, is that apps should only be a supplement. You still need to use the words in real life. You can't just play a game and expect to be fluent.
Right. I can't just press buttons on my phone and then suddenly give a superb presentation at work.
I wish it were that easy. But using apps plus writing in your notebook plus talking to your cat, that is the winning formula.
Speaking of work, I've noticed some words change their parts of speech, like the word hope. I heard someone say hopefully and then someone else said hopeless. It's the same word, but it feels different.
That is a very sharp observation, Dan. To really grow your vocabulary, you should learn all the forms of a word. For hope, you have the noun hope, the verb to hope, the adjective hopeless, and the adverb hopefully.
Wow, so if I learn one root word, I actually get 4 words for the price of one?
Precisely. It's like a buy one, get 3 free sale for your brain. And once you start noticing the suffixes, those endings like OUS or full or ness, you can start guessing the meaning of thousands of new words without even looking them up.
This is actually starting to feel like a game. I'm feeling much more confident already.
I'm so glad to hear that. But there's one more thing we need to talk about before we finish, the flavor of words. Because sometimes using the wrong synonym can be a bit, well, embarrassing.
You know, Anna, I was thinking about what you said about the flavor of words. It reminds me of the time I tried to use a thesaurus to sound extra smart in an email to my landlord. I wanted to say the hallway was dirty, but the thesaurus suggested squalid.
Oh no, Dan, squalid? That is a very, very strong word.
Yeah, apparently. My landlord called me panicking, thinking there was a health crisis in the building. I just meant there was some dust on the floor.
That is the perfect example of why context and tone matter so much. Tone is basically the feeling a word carries with it. Some words are positive, some are negative, and some are very formal. If you use a word like idiotic, for instance, it's not just not smart, it's a strong insult with a negative feeling.
Right, and you don't want to accidentally insult your landlord or your boss because you picked a random synonym from a list.
Exactly. This is why we always say, learn vocabulary in the wild. When you see a word in a story or hear it in a podcast, you can see its social circle, who it hangs out with, and what the vibe is. For example, howdy is a version of hello, but it's extremely informal. You wouldn't say that in a board meeting.
Howdy, CEO. Yeah, maybe not. But what about words like good or bad? We talked about spicing those up earlier.
Yes, but even then, context is king. You can say a movie was superb, but calling your neighbor a superb guy sounds a bit unnatural. It's much better to say he's a nice guy or a great guy. Save superb for someone's skills, like a superb dancer or a superb teacher.
That makes so much sense. It's like each word has a specific job to do. Okay, so we've covered a lot today. I feel like I need a quick summary to help me shed light on everything we've learned.
Oh, nice one. For our listeners, to shed light on something means to make it clearer or easier to understand. So let's shed some light on our top tips for today. 1. Context is king. Never learn single words in isolation. Connect them to a story or a specific situation to make them stick. 2. Learn in chunks. Don't just learn decision, learn make a decision. Learn prepositions as one unit with the word, like amused by or happy with. 3. Be active, not passive. Don't just read or listen. Write down 3 to 5 of your own sentences for every new word. Be proactive and hunt for words that match your life and work. 4. Organize your notebook. Use themed lists in your personal dictionary. Have a page for business, a page for phrasal verbs, and even a page for words you just like. 5. Use technology wisely. Use apps like Quizlet or Anki for spaced repetition to target your weak spots, but use them as a support tool, not the whole plan. 6. Produce output. This is the big one. Summarize what you read or hear. Talk to yourself or explain a new word to a friend like you're the teacher.
That is a superb list, Anna. See, I used it correctly.
You certainly did. And remember, everyone, building a vocabulary is a marathon, not a sprint. You need to encounter a word about 10 times before it feels like yours. So don't be hard on yourself if you forget a word the first or second time.
Yeah, and don't try to cut corners by just memorizing long lists before a test. To cut corners means to do something quickly or cheaply, usually ignoring the quality. If you cut corners with your learning, you'll just forget everything the next day.
So true. Real growth comes from consistent daily effort.
Well, I think that's all the tea we have for today. I'm going to go home and try to explain spaced repetition to my cat. I hope he's open to it.
I'm sure he will be. Thank you so much for joining us on English Over Tea, Listen and Speak. We hope these tips help you move your English from basic to brilliant.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear about a new chunk of vocabulary you learned today. Did you find a phrase that was a hit? Let us know.
Happy hunting for those words, everyone. We'll be back next week with more tips to help you level up. Until then, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep learning.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.